welcome to part 4 of this off-season triathlon training video series. There's only one more video left after this, so today we're going to talk about reintroducing triathlon training back into your routine. So before you start to swim, bike, and run a little bit more heavily than you were in the previous phases of complete rest and just general fitness, I highly recommend getting a bike fit, a run gait analysis, and a swim video analysis. Now, out of all three of these, the bike fit is by far the most important. So I highly recommend finding an expert fitter. He may not change anything at all from your previous season, but it's definitely worth the money to see any power you could be missing or comfort or just any biomechanical issues on your body that have changed from the previous season are really important to address now instead of halfway through your season. So highly recommend getting a bike fit. If you can also get a run gait analysis, that's very good as well, and a swim video analysis. Additionally, any other baseline testing such as a VO2 max, or if you'd like to train with maffetone style training, it's good to do a test now and then experiment with fitness. And what I mean by that is experiment with cross training and certain runs you do really well with and things like that. Now's the kind of time to identify what really worked well for you in the previous phase and what has the potential to work well for you starting back into triathlon. So guidelines for starting into triathlon training, and many coaches would call this the prep phase of training. So I say take 4 to 8 weeks of time for the prep phase of easy swim, biking, and run workouts. So nothing in zone 3, nothing above lactate threshold, just fairly easy. You're getting your body back in the groove of moving forward, swimming, biking, or running. So 2 to 3 workouts a week work best. I also still encourage 1 to 3 strength sessions a week, and everyone's different. I personally can get faster on just 1 to 2 runs a week, so that's all I need, and I'd rather have a strength session than an additional run session. But everyone's different, so there's some general guidelines. And cross-training counts as any of these workouts. So for example, if you mountain bike or cyclocross bike instead of triathlon or road biking, that would count as one of these bike sessions. I always have to include that because people think, oh, I did 3 regular bike rides on my trainer and then I did a mountain bike ride and that's cross training. It's like, well, you did like 4 bikes. It's all the same kind of motion. So here's a sample training week. It's very similar if you watch the last video, only I've added a couple PM workouts and a little more swim, bike, and run workouts. So as you can see, it's an easy run on Sunday, yoga in the afternoon, swim Monday, strength and bike workout Tuesday, trail run and swim Wednesday, another strength workout on Thursday, spin class on Friday, and then a rest day Saturday. So pretty simple, 2 of each workouts a week and then a rest day and yoga sessions, so really nice. Okay, as far as nutrition, this is the time to dial in race weight. I know some of you will think, oh, this is really early, I don't have to worry about race weight till I'm like 16 weeks out from my race. And that's not true. People tend to get overzealous and overindulge in the off season. So now is the time to dial in your race weight, because once you start building your base and training harder, you're not gonna want to focus on holding back on food and whatnot. You need to fuel those harder workouts. So dial in your race weight now. Like I like to see athletes 2 to 4 pounds away from where they want to be on their A race. Identify common meals. What I mean by this is most athletes kind of find what works for them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And some of these variables, there could always be a different dinner or a different lunch, but athletes tend to know when I wake up, I always have gluten-free bread with peanut butter or eggs or whatever. And identify these common meals, because this will come in handy when your training ramps up a little later. So it takes the thought process out of it. You know that, hey, I do really well if I eat a banana and oatmeal 2 hours before my swim or whatever. You just want to know those go-to meals. Avoid endurance sugar. What I mean by this is gels, really sugary bars, drinks. I try to avoid these as much as possible, but especially in the off season because you don't need them. Even though you could be training for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours on the bike or running or whatever, you don't need to have that type of food. I would much rather see athletes eating real food on these long, easy rides, because you're not burning carbohydrates at such a high level, you need to replace them. Most people are fairly fat adapted at these endurance levels unless they're completely new, which in that case they shouldn't be going out for more than 90 minutes where they need that much sugar. So I just eat real food on these rides. You know, I have like a Lara bar that's just dates and almonds, and I eat that instead of a gel or Gatorade or things like that. And especially in the off season, just because, as point one says, I'm trying to dial in my race weight. And try not to rely on caffeine. And the other phases I've said either avoid caffeine or limit caffeine. Now's the time where, you know, athletes just need their caffeine. I would never take that away from them, or I wouldn't be a coach, because athletes would be like, no, you can't take away my caffeine. So I just say try not to rely on it. You know, if it gets to the point where you have to have caffeine to function, that's normally a sign you need to rest. So that's it. Short and sweet for part 4. Stay tuned for part 5. I'm finally going to discuss how to build a triathlon base. So this is the prep phase. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the base phase. I'd still consider the base in the off season, but it's a little different than prep in that you need to get a little more specific with your training. And I'm going to talk about that in the next video. Thanks for watching.